Welcome to this video on the purpose of suffering. Now, this is not a normal type of video for me because usually I try to formulate an argumentation, a train of thought in my videos, and this one is more of just sort of a self-reflection and a discussion on behalf of my side because I have been dwelling on a certain thought recently and I'd like to share it with you. Now, I do believe that large parts of life... Wait, please subscribe to my channel before we continue and give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to learn more about how to reduce suffering in life, dating and self-development. So, as I was saying, large parts of life do really involve suffering. It's some sort of an inevitable phenomenon, and it's sort of a quality that really is the essence of life. Not the only essence, but an essence, let's say, of life. Suffering and pain. Now, I've been thinking whether there's a purpose for it. Now, because there is like, for some examples of suffering and people's stories they tell, they do often involve a sort of struggle, a type of suffering which makes them transcend and actually grow and develop or transform into a more well-rounded, stronger individual. And they wouldn't have turned into that, transformed, unless there was suffering. In that sense, the suffering for these people had a purpose. For example, you will find interviews of successful entrepreneurs telling a story of sort of a near-death experience or a tragic occurrence in their family which flipped a switch inside of them to work hard and create something special. And that was a cause, it ignited something in them, and without that suffering, that pain, the ignition wouldn't have been there. Now, unfortunately, I do think there are some types of suffering, or examples of suffering, let's say, in people's lives, where they don't transcend it, where they don't grow from it, and they actually drown in it. They sort of... it grips them, and it ruins them for the rest of their life. They don't transcend. And this is interesting now, because it is not obvious to me if one can sort of categorize suffering as being either purposeful in that it makes you grow, or actually just tragic in that it will pull you down. Because I don't know if one can really sort of run some statistics on the examples and say, okay, usually people transcend it, usually people drown in it. It's not obvious. And of course, it's a highly subjective measurement, suffering. It's not really comparable across, cross-sectionally, across examples. You can't really do it. But it's a very sort of existential and sort of philosophical thought pattern that has been occupying me, because, I mean, I have 2 sausage dogs and one of them was ill. Like, I could see he was really suffering. He's also old, really suffering since yesterday evening. Like, very short breaths. I could see he's in pain. I could see it in his eyes. He was behaving like he was in agony, sort of. And it was very painful for me to see it. And I couldn't sleep last night, and I was dreading the news coming from the vet to say that, he needs to be put down. And it's been on my mind all day. It's been occupying me. I haven't sort of worked very productively, and I was just thinking, the suffering is absolutely... it's horrible. It's absolutely devastating. It'll rip to your core. It is... it's terrible. It really is, and it's so. I mean, this is now just. I mean, you know, he's a dog, you know, but he's, of course, it's difficult to sort of portray what he means, but he embodies something, and to see it go, it's devastating. And I'm thinking, like, what's the purpose of it? Is it really necessary? Will I grow from this? Will I transcend it? Or will it cost me, you know, in net terms? Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps some of you have some input on this debate that can help me maybe map out the nature of suffering or its purpose. Because I do think one can sort of formulate an argumentation that would say the purpose of life is suffering, and it's meant to be in a sense, but I'm not sure. It's not clear to me. It really isn't. Yeah. And it's not like, you know, you should engage in suffering because it'll make you grow. No, I mean, suffering is called suffering for a reason. It is, it is heavy. It is bloody heavy, and it'll cost you. So it's not to be joked with. It's not something you can really synthesize well, because it is. Don't underestimate it. Let's say, yeah. Anyway, this was a sort of just a reflection, a sort of a different kind of video, and that was really it. So I hope you could sort of maybe understand my thought process or learn something. I don't know. Yeah, but I guess thank you for listening.